reality of being a part-time boater in the winter, at least in Virginia on the Chesapeake Bay. Well, it's taken a little bit of time to get used to that, not being on the boat all the time. I mean, we lived on the boat, even in the winter, in Rock Hall for almost 9 years. Now, sometimes in the winter it would get a little rough, and we'd go to one of our son's house to visit, you know, in New Jersey or Northern Virginia, and even travel out to Wisconsin. In the winter? Yeah, even in the winter. But life on the boat wasn't difficult at the Rock Hall area. I mean, we had a diesel heater on board. We had reverse cycle heat until the water got cold, and that's when the diesel heater really helped. Well, now that we have a house, and since we've just gotten the place, there's been a lot of projects to do, so I've been busy with that. I mean, I still find time to relax occasionally though. But like I've ripped up the carpet on the second floor and going up the steps. I'm rebuilding the steps, putting laminate floor in, putting some bookshelves in that Sherry wanted, put a couple of ramps in so when the grandkids come to visit they can get into the house. So that's been keeping me busy. And I go to the boat at least once a week yet. I still go down, check on things. The weather has been pretty good. You know, we had a cold snap here where it went down to 22 degrees. The water at the marina is off, but probably sometime in March they'll turn it back on again, hopefully. And even like this, the other day I was down, and normally I see 2 or 3 people at the boat, down at the marina. There had to be a dozen people coming and going to their boats working on things. Once the weather gets a little bit nicer, I plan on going out on a few day sails, because at Old Point Comfort, as soon as you leave the marina, depending on the wind, I mean, you can get the sails up. You're right there on the Chesapeake Bay. The only thing I'm a little concerned about is when I brought the boat from Salt Pond over to Old Point, only an hour and 20 minutes. There wasn't really enough wind to sail, so I motored the way. Prop was vibrating a little bit, so I think I need to have that scraped. I don't want to get out there. I don't want to stress the transmission or the engine. And it's a little cold. The water's a little cold for me to jump in and scrape it. I normally do that myself. So perhaps in March I'll check out and see what it would cost to get a diver to go down and clean things up on that. I'm not worried about the hull. Mainly the prop. The rudder didn't look bad at all, and I can scrape that from the pier. I mean, we have floating piers, and the water here, I can't believe the difference in the clarity from here to the Northern Bay. Now, I'm sure it gets cloudy down here too, but I can see to the bottom of my rudder. Now, it's only about 3.5 feet. Maybe, yeah, I guess it's about 3.5, maybe 4 feet. But I can see all the way to the bottom of that. You couldn't do that up on the Northern Bay. Not very often anyway. But I still got some projects that I'm working on the boat. As soon as the weather gets a little nicer, I'm going to ascend the mast. I've got to straighten out a few things on the top there. So it really hasn't been that much different being in a land base compared to being on the boat in the winter, because we didn't take the boat out in the winter. We're not going anywhere right now either. And that's what I'm thinking, because it's so much warmer down here. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it can be 10 to 15 degrees warmer here than it was at Rock Hall. And the water temperature, I think the lowest I've seen it since I've been here, I throw the thermometer over and check the water, 48 degrees. And I know up in the Rock Hall area, it was down in the 30s. So even here, I could use the reverse cycle heat. I've been using the diesel heater though, just because it's more efficient. It heats up quicker, and I'm not stressing out the compressor on the reverse cycle. I'm also getting a little bit of time. I mentioned this in another video. Now that I've got more room, last time I was at the boat, I cleaned out the lazarette a little bit. I moved some of the stuff from the lazarette to underneath the bench seat in the cabin, where Sherry had a lot of her things that we don't need there anymore. I don't like to have the lazarette really packed with stuff. If you need to get down there for a through haul or something leaking, you can't be tossing lines and buckets and all this other stuff out of the way. You got to get down there. So I've been cleaning that up. Other than that, haven't been doing a lot. I've been walking around and driving around Fort Monroe, where the boat is, and I'm anxious to show you guys around there. That is really, really nice. Now the marina doesn't have a lot of facilities. They are undergoing renovations. They're putting a pool in and a few things. They got a restaurant there. But at Fort Monroe, there's a couple of restaurants. There's a fishing pier, a beach. There's a theater. There's an exercise route, you know, where you jog around, and then they have the equipment that you pull yourself up on and stuff. I've seriously looked at that. Not seriously thinking about doing it, but I have looked at it. But I'm excited about this being down here. I hope that in the next couple of weeks I can get out for a day sail, show you guys a little bit around there. And that's the reality of being I guess I'm a part-time boater now, because we really don't live on the boat. We live at the house. However, when we do go sailing and we go out, I mean, we can be gone for 2 or 3 weeks at a time. Doesn't matter. We're retired. So at that point you could say we're part-time liveaboards too. Well, anyway, guys, happy and safe boating to you, your family, and friends.